Okay, this is part 3, but it doesn't matter which part you're getting to. You don't have to watch the other parts, but you can. My name is Dr. Cheryl Meyer, and I'm a psychologist and a licensed priest, lay priest, priestess, whatever you want to call it, lay pastor. See, this is why I don't get up in titles. I don't even, I'm not practiced in saying that title because it's a title that I know inside, but, so I am a mystic teacher as well, but anyway, so what I do is I help people navigate through their spiritual awakening. And I see all of life as our spiritual awakening because we're awakening back up to our soul selves. And so what I'm talking about here is being kings and queens and priests and priestesses. What we are called kings and priests in the scriptures, I think in the Old Testament and the New. And I welcome all religions here. This is why sometimes this series has been like trying to break through a wall, because it's a new barrier in me to talk about these things so deeply on my social media, you know. I don't know, sometimes I'll put things on my YouTube channel that I don't put on Instagram or other places, because I'm just like, you do the work and find these videos, because they're not meant to be for everyone's consumption. So I might just put these, I don't know where I'm gonna, if I'm only gonna keep these on YouTube. But we have a higher calling, and if we don't know that calling or we're not aware of it, then it's like we're like, you know, in the pinball machine, and we keep bumping against all this, you know, all the walls to try to get to our goal. What is our goal here? And so I'm bringing this up because it just keeps coming up, and if it's coming up, then my intuition tells me it's something for me to speak about. So I had a vision over 2 years ago where I saw, and I got this knowing. It's like, I won't go into the vision. The vision was saying something specific I thought about me, but I know it's general for all of us as well. So, because it was just conveyed to me yesterday in a sermon that where Andrew Masters said, a priest is someone who represents God. And so as we learn how to stay in presence, like, let's just look. What are we here for? What do we come here for? Why are we here? What capacities do we have? Our society just teaches us that we're just this personality self. And if you believe that, then you're going to be limited. You know, if you have a deeper understanding that you are a soul here and you're made in the image and likeness of God, and what we're meant to do here is to dominate, you know, have dominion. I forgot to put my phone on airplane. So I love what he was saying. He's like, God sent Christ to help restore us to our priestly role. The Jewish people at the time were, okay, they're like a microcosm of what this role is for us. Look for a second at, and again, so I'm speaking mystically. So when we look at all of these things, let's look at them from a mystic perspective. And that means you have to hear all of this stuff with your spirit ears, your spirit eyes, your soul self, or it just won't make sense. So if we look at the Jewish people as a metaphor, okay, as God made us in his, her image, like God is beyond gender, okay? So it said he made Adam and Eve and took Eve out of Adam, right? And so male and female, he created them both. And so if they were at one time one with okay, out of nothing they were created. And so what Andrew was bringing up and highlighting was that they were priest and priestess. They were representing God to this world, right? And then something happened where they were deceived and they thought that they wanted to be God instead of represent God flowing through them. And so they took in a way that made them go into forgetfulness and made them disconnected from God. I'm just simplifying this, right? But not simplifying it. I'm simplifying it from like what I'm getting right now so that we can understand it. We can understand it so that we can know who are we? Who are we? And so if Adam and Eve were the first representatives of that, you know, I've been listening to the Lord of the Rings again. I love the audio of that. I mean, I love Tolkien. And so he just does such a good job of that. But I'm here as my own person. So I'm trusting that you know, just like God spoke through the creativity of Tolkien, as Tolkien honed his craft in being able to tell stories, I'm honing my craft in being able to convey things through video, you know, because that's the format we speak in these days. So Adam and Eve, let's say, look at all of this like myth. That's when I say look at it from a mystic self, from your soul, from your soul is going to see something different than your outer eyes. All right, so if Adam and Eve are the first representatives of God, they're in the present, they communed with God, walked with him in the garden, you know, could talk with him like Noah was said to have talked with God. Then they went off into egotism, into separation from God. And then this whole time, we're on our way trying to find our way back home. And the Jewish people were meant to be at that time through Abraham a representation of God. Abraham, Melchizedek was the priest, you know, and Abraham went to him as well. Noah was a kind of priest, you know, because Noah, it says, was a righteous man. I hear righteous as right wayness. He lived in the right way. He lived in alignment with his soul self, right? He could hear from God and he did what God asked him to do, and he made the ark, and humanity was saved through that. Wow. Through this vessel of the ark. I can't go into all of history and all of what those stories represent. They represent things on like 1,000 different levels, more than 1,000. So it's like I'm seeing like a cube, you know, like quantum physics going on here. Like Noah, okay? Noah represents all of these different things to all these different aspects of us, and all of these different things that are on the surface of this, and all of the different surfaces of the cube. You could take different meanings, but it's like as that cube just goes in us and we learn from Noah, it's just like our whole being is transformed from the knowing of Noah as a person and Noah as the symbolism of Noah. Christ himself lived his full soulness, his full godness as a man. And so if we take the matrix of Christ, or Christ, as Christ means anointed, and that is if we could take all of that and just activate all of the Christ part in us, all of the matrix of that, then it's kind of like it lights up all the gifts that are put inside of us, and that can flow through us to give love to other people. That was so hard to say. That was so hard for me to say. That was so, because like we could just, you know, let me see if there's anything on this. We could get it in like writing form. You know what I mean? Like, we get it in small doses. We get it I just say forget it sometimes, and I just start singing a song because the song is coming to me, and I trust that something unnameable and beautiful and loving is going to get conveyed through the songs that I sing for you guys. And even with the limited capabilities I have to sing and play, through those, this consciousness that I work on every day in this matrix of myself to be more aligned with my own soul, that, you know, that's what people are drawn to. When I'm skating, people come up to me and they'll say things like, wow, your skates light up, or whatever, you know, and it's like, those are such cool skates, or that's such a cool outfit, or what you're singing is so cool, or you have such a sweet spirit, and or I hear all these different things. And what it is it's this soul of God that's shining through me, because as I align more and more from living in my soul, in my heart, I feel it in my heart, goes on fire, and it's burning heart stuff out to everyone, and they think it's my pink skates or my black skates or the light up wheels or the song or the plane, and they can't put their finger quite what that is. But you are that. You are that. You are that. That's what I'm wanting to teach you, because this is what I'm learning, is you are that. You are. So forget your idea. I don't even say the word priest or priestess usually, because we just think of like an Egyptian priest or priestess, or we think of all sorts of other things, you know. I'm talking about a mystic priest and a royal lineage. Imagine that all of those. So what our outer world will look at is a royal bloodline, and they trace the bloodline and they see if this pure bloodline is in certain people. You know what I mean? And but this is a royalty that you are grafted into. And so if you think of if Christ is the King of Kings, you know, that tells us right there what my 5-year-old saw was real. It's like, as you go back to your royal nature and align with that and plug back into that, it's like you become what you always were. But I can't just put on a crown and call myself a queen. You know, it's like, I love how Maurice Nicole says it. He says it's kind of like an acorn seed, you know. An acorn seed has all of the DNA in it, all the packaging for it to go in the ground. And once it lets go of the outer shell, it can come up and be this giant tree, you know. Jesus used a lot of images like a seed that goes into the ground and then creates this tree and has lots of fruit on the trees for other people to come and eat of that fruit, you know. There's a difference, okay? Here's the difference. There's a difference between if I put a crown on an acorn seed and I put a crown on a tree that's producing fruit. Now the tree is rooted in the ground. The sun is coming through it. It's grown out of the ground. It's producing fruit. And in that fruit, there's other seeds for more trees to be grown that produce fruit, right? And so if we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and other things, then there are powers that don't want us to know our capacity and our power. On this earth. Excuse me. And so sometimes we stay in acorn form and we're going around trying to dress up this acorn. That's like our personality self, our present day personality self. We keep trying to dress up this acorn instead of the cross is this part of this transformation. Let me convey what someone was talking to me. This is just after this. I was talking to a new person at coffee, this husband and wife, and the husband he's saying, you know, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a psychologist, but I'm also like a mystic. But I don't go into all this new age stuff where it's just all this spiritualism where you're just spiritual automatically, you know? Because I was talking to him how I kept hearing that the cross is part of this. Dying to yourself is part of this. It has to be part of this. So many people want to skip over the cross. And he said, you know, and I said, but I'm not really a psychologist. I don't stay in that realm because then we're just talking about all of these wounds, you know, all of these different things that happen, you know, that, you know, here's where we are as a soul, but things get wounded in us in childhood and we get identified with those wounds, and then they affect our home and our work and our relationships and our finances and our children and then our children's problems and stuff like that. And so as a psychologist, you can keep just talking to people forever about all their problems. And but then he said, it was so profound, it was so great, because he was like, the wound is where the light comes in, and where you get then your mystic understanding can come through that wound. And so instead of staying in, I'm a victim of all these wounds, we move to this middle place, right? And instead of staying in this new age where, you know, everything's just spiritual and we're just pretending like we have no problems, there has to be this dying to our outer self. Hopefully you guys can hear me. There's outer noise in my house right now. So Christ said, follow me, join me, in my entole, follow my commandments. In telos though, my telos is like a telescope, like my end goal. Join me in in becoming who you truly already are, in not losing yourself in personality self, in if Adam and Eve were meant to represent God, and then they decided they wanted to be God, and then the Jewish people, through Abraham, through mystic understanding of this, right, were meant to represent God to the earth. And they got sidetracked as well. And they're still waiting for the Messiah, but the Christians believe Christ was the Messiah. So through Judaism, a Messiah was born to show us again, I'm not getting into that debate, okay, but to show us again how to align back to our priestly and kingly, queenly, priestessly role, back to our role. What is that to live as soul? What did Christ do on a cosmic level to free us? I keep hearing, it is finished. It is finished. I've done this. It's like he opened the way back for us to remember who we really are, to go back in presence. I don't know why this is so hard for it to come through me today. Usually it blah, 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 but oftentimes anyway, I appreciate that you're here sitting through this with me, and that things will come up for you that need to come up, that I'm bringing up, that just needed to be brought up for you. That's how it works. As I yield, even in the imperfect way, like, let's say Adam and Eve messed up, and then God told Eve, through your seed will come the salvation. And then the next child she had, she's like, is this the salvation? Is the salvation coming through this child? And it's like, just by turning back to God and yielding, it's like God will still work through that, because we're yielding through that. And so Noah yielded, and then we were saved through the waters, Mankind was still allowed to live and to find dominion again. What does it mean that you're meant to have dominion over this earth? We're made out of earth, okay? So this is coming to me now, is like, we're made out of the earth. And if we're meant to have dominion out of the earth, then the earth is not meant to dominate us, right? Oh, thank you, God. Like, finally I'm getting to some of this, is like, then as a soul, you're meant to live as your soul, and not, we say, thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Thy will be done, the will of divine love. Gosh, all of that work to get to this place, but all of that work was necessary. All of that work of the last other 2 videos was like the cross that we had to get through to get to this part. This part couldn't have happened without the cross. So what I'm saying to you now, thank you, God, now you can see the whole process of what the cross looks like in your life is what it looked like in this. It's like that tediousness of just going through this. Okay, now we're seeing that love is meant to be conveyed through us. And if we let this outer earth person of us dominate, then we never live out our souls. Our souls aren't living here. Our souls aren't the ones in dominating. It's like if I had a pet cat and I kept feeding the cat all my energy, and the cat turned into a lion and the lion ate me up, you know. Oh, they do say that Satan is like a prowling, like a roaring lion waiting to devour you. Okay. And so it's like you not have to, but if you choose to live a purposeful life here and one aligned with who you really are, it's important for you to find out who that is. Who is that? Otherwise, if your consciousness and you keep giving all of your conscious energy to this earth part of yourself, instead of dominating the earth starts dominating you. These animals, these other voices that are calling, you know, like I said before, is all these people calling you at once. You just go to which is the loudest one today. Oh, well, you know, I want to go buy a Lamborghini so I look like I'm an important person to people, or I want to go feed myself because I'm hungry, and then I want to eat that, and then I have a drink, and then that drink wants to have a drink, and then that does. So it's pulling yourself back to who is Christ? Who am I? What am I as a soul? What is my role here on this earth? If my role is to represent God, how do I get back in the present and connect with the presence of God and God through me? I say that so often. I use like a bottle cap and I say, you know, here's our mind, and our mind wants to say, I am the only person here. And it doesn't understand this stuff of soul stuff. It doesn't understand this higher calling, or that you are of royalty. St. Paul says that we're like adopted. We're adopted back as brothers, as sisters in Christ. Okay. But George MacDonald presents it a different way. He says, it's the story of the prodigal son. When Christ says, here's the story of this father, and his son says, let me take this inheritance and let me go out. And then he squanders it all. And then he's like, the servants in my father's house had as much bread as they wanted to eat. I will go back as a servant instead of starving here wanting to eat the pig's food, right? And so if you think of that, I remember Doskalos doing a teaching, and he's saying, wake up. It's like our souls are saying to ourselves, wake up, you're a prince, you're a princess. Wake up to who you really are. But if you spend lifetime after lifetime, if people have many lifetimes, or if we just have this one lifetime, and you don't ever remember who you really are, then you just dissipated, you just wasted all of this energy not remembering who you are, just giving away your energy to end up using it all, and then you're feeding pigs and you're wanting the pig's food, and the pig were like the unclean animals, okay? And so it's like, you see how the prince will not know himself as the son of the father in this kingdom of heaven. He goes down. This son goes out away from the father. When he returns, the father can choose not to accept him, but he runs for him. You know, the father runs to the daughter, the father runs to the son and welcomes him and says, yes, no, I'm going to give you a robe and a ring and kill the fatted calf, you know. And all of those are just beautiful, deep symbols. It's like it's like the sacrifice had to be killed, like the sacrifice had to die, because there has to be a cross to go through. It's not made up. It's not made up part of the story. It's just part of the story. It's a mystery for us to enter into. This outer part of ourselves has to die. We have to let go of it by our own free choice in order for us to come back to knowing ourselves as soul. And the ring represents eternity, you know? And so he's brought back into his eternal nature as son, as the son of the Father. And there's a party, because there's joy. It says there's joy with the angels when one person repents. The word is metanoia, has a metamorphosis of their nous, a metamorphosis of your soul understanding. You have this change where you turn from your old way of seeing yourself back to this alignment that Christ came to show us, this alignment back as royalty, as kings and queens and priests and priestesses, as actual, you know, although we are imperfect, it's like clicking back in line with who we were created to be. We were created to represent God, who is love, and be love on this earth. And Christ means anointed. It's like that shining oil light that shines through us. All right, I'm going to end this one at 33 as well. That's the number of Christ. And I told myself I have to leave time for lunch. I'm working to be balanced in my life, and I have so many other things to get done. So let me think. All of these symbols are given to us to enter into, to help wake us up to your true self and your true calling. All right, I wish you so much love. More later.